Hi, welcome to a webinar of OpenLM. Now we'll see how to empower your end users in your organization. Now, what does that mean, empower them? Well, basically it means that when they need a license, they'll be able to get it, but it can also keep them in check. So basically today we will go over all the agent capabilities. We'll see all the capabilities of the OpenLM agent which come with the base product. And we'll also take a look at all the extensions that the OpenLM agent enables. So just to do a quick recap, you probably already know that on the license server, you'll need the OpenLM broker. But if you want added functionality, you install the OpenLM agent on the workstations themselves, on the end user workstations. So many brokers and many agents, they all transmit information to the OpenLM server. Now the OpenLM server gives you all the reports that you need, all the reporting and management capabilities. Basically, it's your interface, so you can access it using any device, using your browser. So what does the agent give you in its base format? Basically, it can do a few things, both for the agent and the end user himself. So we'll start with the admin, sorry, not the agent. We'll start with the admin, what the agent gives to the admin, which benefits, and then we'll go to the end user. But again, for now, we're talking only about the base product of OpenLM. Like you bought OpenLM, you don't have any extensions, download the agent, it's free. Just you can just install it on your machines, on the workstations, and that's it. And you'll get the benefits I'm about to show you. So first of all, real simple. Once you have an agent, the admin will be able to see the availability of the workstations themselves. So I'll be able to see as an admin the IP, both the host name, which version of the agent I have, the idle time, and if it's online, giving me a complete status of my workstations. And I can see the availability of them. Secondly, as you see here, it allows me to get the IP. But what does it do for the end users? Which benefits does it give to the end user himself? We're talking about empowering the end user. So the end user himself, let's jump to the workstation I have right here. This is a workstation. The end user himself, well, let's say that you're an end user, you're an engineer. You tried to grab a license, you checked it out, but you got denied, meaning that there are no more licenses left in the pool. You tried to check out a license, but were not able to. So every sane person will just try to get the license again and again and again and again and again, thus spending a lot of time near the computer trying to get the license, which really spends most of the morning for the engineer. But that engineer, when he comes to the office in the morning, tries to get a license, get denied. But he has the OpenLM agent, so the OpenLM agent will notify him that the license he needs is now available. The end user will get a notification right here saying that it's now available. Now let's try to replicate that. So I'm going to try and pull a license from one machine and try and get denied on another machine. So meanwhile, let me talk about the OpenLM agent itself. It's a lightweight component which can be installed in a few different ways. You can either install it by double clicking. You got an installer, next, and that's it. But if you got 10,000 users, you got 100,000 users, you want to roll out the agents. So you cannot do it manually one by one. You'll need some sort of rollout rollout platform for it. So there are a few rollout platforms that Windows uses, which we also use. First of all, you can roll out the agent using the Windows SCCM and just roll it out to all the machines. And you can also use it with group policy, a GPO, which also allows you to roll it out silently to all machines. You can also roll it out just using a CMD script, and if every machine has some sort of shared folder it can access to, then it can just get the installation file from there and run the script on the workstation. Just get it from a shared folder. So now I got denied from this machine. Now let's go to this workstation, and let's say I worked on it a bit, but then I finished, so I'm closing the application. Now in a few minutes, once the license is retracted back into the pool and taken back and so on, it will take a while, maybe 2 minutes, and we'll see a notification saying that the license has become available. But what else can it do? Besides that, it can notify the end user of which licenses are currently available. If the end user has an OpenLM agent installed on his workstation, then he'll simply be able to right-click License Usage Information and see the license usage. So that's great. I'm an end user. I'm an engineer. I need, let's say ArcGIS. I need this one. But I have a few available. But let's say it was not available. All were used. So as an end user, I can simply click here, and then I see, oh, Stanley is using, or Karen is using, or Neil is using. He's been using since this morning. Maybe I can call him up and try and get the license back from him. Ask him if he can close the application. So the end users can work it out between themselves. Now, if you have connection to the Active Directory, you use Active Directory synchronization in OpenLM, then when we click here, you'll be able to see all these details, which are now hidden from me, because this system is not connected to an Active Directory. But if all the details are there, it will be displayed here, and the users will be able to email each other and ask for the license. But you can define, of course, who sees what. Maybe you don't want the end users to see each other's details. You can also do that, no problem. You can hide it from them. It's very versatile, and it allows the OpenLM system, basically, to operate from the end user's side. So you see what popped up on the right here. Let's close this interface. So a window popped up saying that this feature that I was looking for has been released for use. So I can double click, and now I will get the license. I know that I have a license. It's not being reserved by the OpenLM agent, but it is notifying me. And that's it, and I get a license. Now, that's about it for the core functionalities of the OpenLM agent, the basic functionalities, the ones that really you don't need to pay extra for, basically. So just to recap, the admin gets workstation availability, gets the IP, and the end user gets the license usage information screen, which the admin can decide what he sees and what not. And he also gets a notification saying when a license he needs becomes available. But what else popped up here? Something else popped up here regarding a project. Choose current project. Now we're going into the realm of the extensions. which use the agent. There are five extensions that use the agent. And one of them is projects. So what is projects? Let's say that you want to group usage by certain projects. So you are an automotive company, I don't know, Fiat, and you are currently designing the new model of Fiat, the 2020 Fiat. So this is a project. The design of it will start and end. It will take maybe half a year, I don't know. But then the admin can simply get the usage information, group it by the project, and know that, oh, for this project we use 50 hours of AutoCAD, so I can bill the project leaders accordingly, or however you have it in your organization. So how does it know which project I belong to? Either I have one project, I'm assigned to one project, and it just assigns it to me automatically, or it gives me an option to choose. I can choose the current project, the admin adds projects, and I choose from the project. And once I click OK, I will be tagged under that project. So now I'm using AutoCAD under that project. When I close AutoCAD, it's going to stop the count, of course. It only works on the usage. So, what else can it do? It can group it by projects, that's great. But it can also monitor my application idle time. Now let's say that I'm an engineer and I opened AutoCAD, but I'm not working on it. I'm on Facebook. I don't know. I went to a meeting on some other application. Maybe I'm talking to someone for an hour. You don't know. Once it comes out of the license manager, you don't know what's going on with it. Maybe the user is not actually using it. So with the actual usage extension, you'll be able to know, as an admin, you'll be able to know if the applications are actually being used, or maybe they're not actually used at all. Maybe they're just idling. So once an application is idling, you'll be able to see it in the in the currently consumed licenses screen. It updates about minute by minute. We see that now we're about 51 seconds idle. We didn't do anything with the application, not with the workstation. The workstation was working a bit. I did move my mouse, I did do something there, but the application was doing nothing. Now, this was tracked by the OpenLM server, so the actual usage extension allows you to see this and just call up the guy and say, oh, I'll call him up, I'll tell him to remove the license, or close the application because it's idling for, well, let's say 12 hours or 1 hour, whatever, not using the application. Now, why would you care if someone is using the application? Well, if they have that on their system, on their workstation, that floating license that they're not using, then someone else can't access it. They can't access that license, meaning that you'll get like inflated license utilization. As a result, you'll see that you're almost 100% utilization always. Why is that? Do I need more licenses? No, you don't need more licenses. You just need your users to start behaving. So it allows you to modify the behavior of your users because now they know that they're being watched. But okay, let's say that you don't know the guy. You don't know where his workstation is. You cannot access him or his workstation. But you see he's idling for a long time and people need the licenses. So what can you do? So you can use the active agent extension along with the actual usage extension and actually close the application based on the idle time. If you don't combine this with the actual usage, you can simply click here and close the application. In about a minute, it will just close the application remotely, as you'll see here. But if you combine it with the actual usage extension, you'll be able to set a certain threshold that if that idle time threshold is exceeded, it simply saves the work and closes the application. So let's say you got 100 licenses. You can define to OpenLM, you can say, okay, I got 100 licenses. If you see that it goes over 95 licenses already pooled, and I've got like 5 or 4 licenses left in the pool and it's being maxed out, then start releasing licenses. But then to ask you, whose licenses should I release? Well, ones with the highest idle time. Whoever has more than 3 hours of idle time, start releasing the licenses. So you can define it as an admin. You can define it however you'd like. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, but why would I... okay, I'll close their application, I'll track their idle time and all that. Wonderful. But why should I use it? What will it give me? By the way, you see that we got the transmission and the OpenLM agent recently closed AutoCAD, the AutoCAD application. That's great. So what does it give you? First of all, suddenly you'll see like, boom, 20% less usage. So the user didn't change, the usage didn't change, just the way it's used. So you're probably asking yourself, but okay, I have something running at night. I have some engineers running things at night. Won't it kill their application? Well, no. Why is that? Let me open up Paint and try to explain. So there's a threshold in the OpenLM agent that the admin can change if he wants, but there is a certain default threshold that the agent takes a look at CPU, it takes a look at memory usage, at disk space usage for that application, allocated to that application. So if the OpenLM agent sees that the usage of the application is below that line, it says, okay, the application is now idle. Start counting the idle time. But let's say that it goes over that threshold, then the OpenLM agent knows that, here it's actually being used. Then it can give you the amount of idle and usage, meaning that it will say here it was idle, here it was used, here it was idle. Then if it was used, it will not close the application. And if you have processes running at night, then it will look like this all the time. It will be above that threshold the whole time. So it won't automatically close the session. Now I talked about closing and saving the application. Now this can be, this is the save and close option. There's also suspend resume option and agent procedures. So save and close basically goes out to the application itself if this is a workstation. So the OpenLM agent, which sits on the workstation, simply transmits to that application and tells it, oh, save and close the application, please. Now this only works for SolidWorks, ArcGIS applications, MLM, meaning MATLAB applications, and also Autodesk applications. So only these big four: SolidWorks, ArcGIS, Autodesk, and MATLAB. But let's say that you're using NX. I'm using Siemens NX, and I also want this, but I don't have the ability to save and close it. So what can you do? We can suspend and release. Now what happens here? You got the OpenLM server, the OpenLM agent, and the broker. The broker is on the license server. The agent is on the workstation, and the OpenLM server is on his own. Is doing his own thing on a network server. So the agent basically connects to the server and the broker. So the agent wants to suspend the application. Idle time has been reached. It suspends the application, tells the OpenLM server, okay, it's suspended. The server goes out to the broker and tells the broker, okay, release the license. And it does that, releases the license, and on the workstation it's suspended. So the user cannot do anything with the application, and the application does not have a license in the background. Now if he wants to get the license back, then the same process happens in reverse. Now this works with all FlexLM applications, all applications which are managed by a FlexLM license manager, because we need to do the release here, so only FlexLM. And agent procedures basically takes a look at the processes themselves. So you got the workstation, inside the workstation you got processes like Chrome, Notepad, AutoCAD, whatever. So agent processes looks at the process itself and kills the process itself. Now this is a bit violent. It's not like the save and close where it's very, very graceful. It's violent. It just kills the process. Now you can either kill the process, suspend the process, or you can just run a custom command on the end user workstation. For example, set a message that says, hey, you've been idling for too long. You've been using it for too long. Please put back the license when you're done. So these are the three methods used with the active agent. Now again, if you combine it with the actual usage, then you can close idle applications automatically. Okay, what else can it do? We've seen the core OpenLM agent benefits. We've seen how it works with the actual usage, with the active agent. But it can also monitor any type of application using the extension called the Applications Manager. It can track any type of application. If it's a standalone application, if it's a named, locked, node locked, user locked, doesn't matter. Single use, doesn't matter. It can be monitored by the OpenLM Applications Manager. So let's go there and open up the Applications Manager. Now the Applications Manager can do a few things. Some of you know it already, some of you don't. It helps you to monitor both floating and non-floating applications, and you can separate between them. You can filter the vendors that you want, so you can see only the named licenses in one place and only the floating in another, or you want it combined, however you'd like. In any case, you'll be able to monitor both, as you see here, AutoCAD and Adobe, like Photoshop applications. Even if it's standalone, doesn't matter. You can track the executable, you can track the folder it's in, or you can just track the process itself. Now, what does it let you do besides monitoring? And why should you monitor anything? Why should you monitor the named licenses? It's one user per one license. That's it. I don't need to think about it too hard. Well, even here, there are a few things that can help you save money on licenses. Now, you might have named licenses which are cheaper than floating licenses. You might have like 20 named licenses, but the users using the 20 named licenses, are they using every day, all day? Or maybe they're just using 1 hour a day, maybe 1 day a week. So how do you know? Why would it help you to install the Applications Manager? Well, because then you can mix and match. You can say, okay, this one is using only 1 hour a week and he has a named license. I'll just give him a floating license. He'll just use a floating license like everybody else. And I'll take that named license and give it to someone who uses like 9 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week. I'll give him the named license. It will be cheaper for me. So it gives them the ability to mix and match the licenses according to the license usage. Now, it can also allow you to cap the license usage. Now, what does that mean? Let's say you have a vendor that tells you, well, you bought 20 licenses, but if someone wants to get the 21st license, he won't get denied. He will get the license, but you will pay extra for that license. So if you want to avoid that, I don't want to pay extra for the extra license, you can have the OpenLM Applications Manager simply cap the usage. So if I set it to 0 right here, and I try to get a license, I cannot. License limit reached. the applications manager denied me from using it. So if it can deny usage, what else can it do? Well, it denies my usage by my limit, but it can also deny my usage by different conditions. Which group I'm in, what time is it, which application I'm using. So you can set many different conditions, like which version to use. You have 2019. Let's say it's the best policy you got. So you don't want anybody to use 2015, 16, and so on. So you can just block them from using it, prevent them from pulling that license. You can group users to only use Autodesk applications. If they don't need to be able to use ArcGIS, for example, you can block them from anything else. You can block or allow by the time zone, by the workstation, by the vendor. You can string those rules together and conditions together to allow or deny specific groups from getting licenses in certain criteria. So let's see that in action. Let's try to pull a license. And I got now normal USA working hours rule, access denied, which is this rule. I got denied because of this rule. Because it's after 8 and it is Autodesk. So let's allow. And there's one more thing I want to show you. The applications manager can also run a script on the end user workstation, just like the agent. So when I get denied, I want to have a message pop up saying my user and outside working hours. So once I get denied now, I try to get the license. It pops up the notification saying outside working hours. That's also a nifty trick because it's a CMD script, as you can see. You can run anything you want, anything as long as it's a CMD script. And yeah, that's it. It can even monitor and perform actions on your own custom applications. Like you created an application, the organization built an application, and you want it to be monitored, then it can also be monitored by the applications manager. Because again, it tracks the executable on the workstation or the folder of the executable or the process itself. It depends what you define. Now, the applications manager sits on a separate server from OpenLM server, and all the agents transmit information to it. It transmits information to the OpenLM server as a result. And that's about it. That's about all the functionality that the agent can give you. Just to do a quick recap, in its core basic form, like download now and you'll have it, it's IP reporting, workstation availability reporting, license usage information for the end users, license usage notifications, license availability notifications on the end user workstations. But with the projects, then users will be able to register to projects if used with the project extension. You can also use the actual usage and active agent together to harvest idling licenses, meaning save and close the application or suspend the application and pretty much harvest the license back into the pool because the user was idling. And lastly, it allows you to monitor named, node-locked, standalone applications, custom applications, whatever you choose. Then you can run certain rules on them, and you can even run certain scripts on the workstations. And that's about it. So now it's your turn. I want to hear from you. If you have any questions, anything that you'd like to know more about, maybe something I didn't fully explain, go ahead. It's your turn. You can use the GoToWebinar questions box. There is like a questions box you can use. Simply ask a question. I'll be happy to answer. I'll stay here for a few minutes more. Yes, so John is asking, where can I get the agent? You simply go to the OpenLM website, go to Downloads, scroll down, and you can get the OpenLM agent. Now, if you'd like to know how to install it, you simply go to the search and install agent. And you'll get install OpenLM agent. You'll get the documentation, all the ways to install it, how to configure it. And that's about it. Just come here. You'll be able to get a step-by-step explanation of how to roll it out, how to install it, everything. Yes, now the applications manager requires an extra license, but is purchased based on the users and added ports that are required. Added ports are like added applications. Okay, guys, so if no one has any more questions, I would thank you very much for joining me on this webinar. I hope it was informative. I hope maybe you learned something that you didn't already know about OpenLM. And that's it. If you have any questions, just send us to support@openlm.com. I see one client who's supposed to send it to secuptena.com. Oh, I have a question. Okay, Gunther is asking, did you also test the OpenLM App Manager with floating and standalone of the same application? Yeah, it also works with both floating and standalone licenses. You can either separate between them or show them together. So like the AutoCAD here, it will turn both to floating licenses and named licenses. But if I filter out the vendor add, and I add the vendor and filter it out, then here I won't see the floating licenses. The floating license I'll be able to see under the license server. So here I'll see the floating license, and here I'll see the named license or standalone license. This way you can separate between them. Okay, guys, so have a great day. Let us know if you have anything else. Bye.